payroll warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Acceptance correspondence in the read file.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Is there anybody here that wants to speak in public forum? That's something that's not on the agenda. No? Okay, new business. Renew all the following licenses for calendar year 2017, subject to payment of license fees, no outstanding tax issues, the submittal of all required renewal documents, and the approval where required of the building and the fire department. I'm gonna read the title list of all of them, and I am gonna hold one out for a second vote, but I'll explain it later. So I need a motion to accept and to release the licenses for all alcohol club liquor license, all alcohol package goods store liquor license, amusement and entertainment license, automatic amusement device license, Class 1 auto dealer's license, common vicular license,
Class 2.
all right, common vicular license, all alcohol liquor licenses, common vicular wine and malt liquor licenses, Farmer Series pouring permits, general on-premise wine and malt licenses, public entertainment on Sunday licenses, rooming house licenses, wine and malt package goods store liquor licenses. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The one that I left out and that I need a vote on is I'd like a motion for Class 2 auto dealer's license with the stipulation that diesel truck, the business of diesel truck at 575 Bedford Street and WR Cars Incorporated at 991 Bedford Street. Their license will be held until they're in, we get a letter of acceptance from our building commissioner that all issues have been dealt with. So I would like to recommend that we vote to accept all Class 2 auto dealers license with those two businesses with that exception.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And Laurie, if you could send them a letter stating that, the reason why?
For the benefit of the minutes, I'd just like to clarify that the vote we just took was to approve all licenses, but to make additionally the building inspector's approval subject to those two licenses that you accepted. So we're voting them all, we're just putting additional conditions on
Yep.
those two licenses.
Okay, considering extending the closing times for clubs and common vicular liquor licenses holders till 2 a.m. on Sunday, January 1st, 2017 for New Year's Eve celebrations. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? This is something that we do yearly and has never been a problem. All in favor?
Aye.
Act on the request of Deborah Keeman on behalf of the Whitman Regional School Chapter of the Best Buddies to hold a 5K road race and a 1-mile run walk on April 1st, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Frank, do you know anything about this? I mean, this is a,
It's annual, I believe the chiefs are aware of it, and they do coordinate with both the police and fire chiefs on the route.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Announce holiday schedule, town building closed on Monday, December 26th, and Monday, January 2nd. Frank, did you add anything to that announcement?
Well, that, because of the calendar this year, particularly for the town, well, for all of the buildings, Christmas is on a Sunday, so both Saturday and Sunday, which are normally holidays, we would be closed. So Monday will be the date for Christmas, and there'll be a floating holiday
Are we also closed
for
the
Christmas Eve.
Thursday prior to Christmas? that in the contract? No? Okay,
That's why you have 2
Okay.
days to deal with.
all right. And set January's meeting schedule. Suggestion, how about the 10th and the 24th? January 10th and 24th?
Yeah, makes sense.
And I was asked if, the chief, what day would you prefer to give your monthly review? The 10th or the 24th? What do you think? The 10th be fine? Okay, we can make a note on that, Laurie. Okay, old business, to discuss, and this is held over from our last meeting, Fresh Meadows Farm Host Community Agenda. Frank, agreement,
Yes.
excuse me.
I know there are a lot of people that probably have some curiosity about what's going on here. So what I would like to do is read a memo that I prepared for the board today. Brian, I have your copy here. And the subject is medical marijuana.
Yes.
At this point in time, the only thing we're talking about is medical marijuana. There have been no provisions or instructions as to how to handle anyone producing recreational marijuana. On November 15th, Benjamin Smith, representing Fresh Meadow Farm, an affiliate of Mission, Massachusetts Incorporated, addressed the board seeking either support or non-opposition to a medical marijuana grow facility in Whitman to be known as Fresh Meadow Farm. Since that meeting, the investors representing the potential grow field have determined to move forward under the corporate identity of Mission, Massachusetts Incorporated. The proposal is to build a facility to cultivate marijuana on property located at 233 Bedford Street. The building would be located in the central area of the property behind an existing company with a wooded lot separating it from Pine Haven Drive east of the facility. The facility will be unmarked and fully conform to the operating conditions dictated by the Department of Public Health under Chapter 369 of the Acts of 2012 and 105 CMR 725, which are regulations promulgated as a result of that act. Marijuana will be grown using, and I quote here, soilless growth medium comprised of coconut shell shavings and perlite, end quote. The environment in which marijuana is grown will be self-contained, and a high level of security will be implemented to ensure all growth is accounted for. Marijuana will be stored in vaults, and the storage area will be heavily restricted and monitored electronically. Transportation of marijuana will be done using DPH-approved shipping manifests with all product accounted for. Transportation will occur in random delivery times and monitored by GPS equipment. The vehicles used to transport marijuana will have no exterior markings to indicate that it is carrying marijuana. In consideration of being a host community for the growth facility, a host agreement will be executed between the town and Mission, Massachusetts, Inc., providing for incremental payments to the town as the facility grows and produces product. It is my recommendation that the Board of Selectmen vote to provide a letter of non-opposition to the licensing of the facility conditioned on execution of a host agreement. In summary, we met in November. The Assistant Town Administrator and I met with Mr. Smith. It's either a week or two ago. The days are running together for me right now. And we had further discussions. This is not an intrusive facility. If I had a projector up here, I would show you some of the buildings that are being presented. They look very similar to a steel garage or manufacturing building, with the exception there are no windows. In this particular design that they're anticipating, there'll be sunlight available through skylights, but the building is self-contained. It will have an environmental control system It'll have air scrubbers to keep from offending the neighbors. And it will be used solely as a growth production facility. We will not be dispensing marijuana from this location or from Whitman. There are, and this may surprise some people, projects in neighboring communities such as Bridgewater, Lakeville. There's discussion in Weymouth. This organization will also have a facility in Burlington. And I expect that as a result of the vote taken at the election in November to legalize recreational use of marijuana, there will be more facilities. So it's in our interest to manage the process as best we can to ensure that we have a voice in what happens and how it's presented. I'm assuming there may be one or two people who might want to comment, so I'll
Right.
turn it back to you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
First of all, the gentleman from Mission,
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, would you have anything to say? Yeah, introduce yourself. Just to let you know, there was a lot of talk on Facebook about issues and worries that people had, and we're having this meeting tonight just to assure them that there's nothing to scare really, and that this is just the very, very beginning of a process that's gonna take a while. I mean, you gotta go, you know, you'll be building a building, you need to go to the Board of Assessors, the Planning Board, I mean, and the zoning board.
Right.
Right, aside,
well as the
and
Department
that's
of
just
Public Health.
town, then you look at the state issues and rules and regulations, so if you'd like to give a slight presentation.
Yeah,
And
based
then
on,
you can answer some questions from the audience, they just identify themselves, and please, if you have same questions, I'd really not want to hear the same question asked over and over again. If you have different questions, you'll be glad to answer them. So make your presentation.
okay, thank you for your time. Yes, based on what Town Manager Lyman said, is exactly what we're proposing. We're proposing a medical marijuana cultivation-only facility. In our organization, Mission Massachusetts, our goal has been to look at this industry and help professionalize it. Bring it to security grade, procedures and protocols that'll run this place to keep it safe for everybody. Again, we're gonna run a facility, you won't even know what it is. There won't be signs or anything to go there. There'll be no retail happening there. The trucks will come, a couple times a week to take it out to our dispensaries, whether it's in Burlington or Worcester. We're in discussions with towns around here to do a local one. And so it was just a good fit for distribution-wise. As far as any questions you might have as far as how we run it or the laws or any of that kind of stuff, I'd be glad to answer any questions as far as security, who we work with security, or how that's gonna happen, or, and as far as the time frame goes, he said it's with this very early stages. There's many more steps we have to take with the state as well as their building commission and local building commissions. So if things went positive, I mean, it wouldn't even start construction probably till midsummer or something of next year, so it's not gonna happen tomorrow and, go from there, so,
If somebody has a question, stand up and identify yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Jason Flabot. I live at 30 Little Comfort Circle here in Whitman. My question is actually for you gentlemen,
Okay.
not for you yet. The announcement came out shortly after the state election on November 8th about this facility. My question is, when was the first time that you folks were approached about this facility?
2 weeks ago?
No, approximately a month ago. We
So,
were,
prior to the election.
Yeah.
yes, in
So-
October.
So I think it would have been very important for the townspeople to be notified prior to the election. Granted, we're talking about medical use marijuana, but the marijuana vote passed by, I think it was 703 votes here in Whitman. I think if the population here, and this is just my opinion, if we knew that this facility was something that was proposed, that vote would have changed. And if question 4 was voted no, my opinion is that the selectmen would maybe take a different approach to welcoming facilities like this into our town.
I think I have to disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. This is medical marijuana. We're not talking about recreational marijuana. There was a law passed, let me finish. There was a law passed and a statute established that prescribed how medical marijuana was to be handled, how it was to be provided for, and how it was to be distributed. When we were approached by these gentlemen, my first response to them was, we're probably willing to consider a marijuana facility, although in actuality, it would be very difficult to say, no, you can't come here. What we can do is we can establish zones where they can operate, but we can't prohibit them from operating. So we presented them an opportunity to come and meet with the selectmen and talk about what their project was and what the process was, and then we took some time to analyze it to bring them back for this meeting. So I respect your opinion, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't have the opportunity to do this. It would simply mean more zoning and more restrictions.
So, and that's fine. In some cases, I do agree with you, but my concern as a taxpayer here in this town is the reputation of a town being home to a marijuana facility, even though it's medical. Does that outweigh the financial benefits that this facility could bring to this town? And I would imagine that the majority of the people sitting in this room have that same concern. Because at the end of the day, we're all concerned with the value of our homes, the way that our children are brought up, and the stigma around marijuana. I understand the uses of medical marijuana, and in many cases I agree with them. It is, for this town and the decisions that we've made in this town with regards to the businesses that we have in this town, I don't think it's going to benefit us with regards to our reputation and the valuation of this town.
I think you would be very surprised at the communities that are currently in discussion with developers throughout the state. This is a relatively new industry. It will at some point in time, if it's not already, become very competitive in terms of being able to get a license. I have absolutely no idea what the state is thinking in terms of the recreational piece. I found it interesting that a couple of days ago, I forget who it was in the Senate, said that although the regulations that are required under this law for recreational marijuana will not be published for months, they're going to allow people to start purchasing it recreationally tomorrow, I think is the day, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's more rules than you think.
But, no, they aren't. They're not in place yet.
Right.
Nothing's in place yet. What's happening is these things are evolving, and I would expect, if you look at the CMR, there's 26 sections governing medical marijuana. 26 sections. So you can well imagine what the breadth of the regulations will be. Yet they're going to, I don't know how they're going to buy it because no one's authorized to sell it. But
Right.
I just want to keep focus on the fact that what we're discussing here is a company that's seeking a license for medical marijuana.
Okay, just a minute, just to make it clear, I voted against it, right? Because I just think it's wrong, but the fact is, my feeling is that if it's a legal business, I have no right to vote against it, to say no. There's a lot of businesses that I wouldn't vote for or wouldn't go to, but if it's a legal business, I have no right to say no, in my opinion. That being said, I'm just curious, I'm probably thinking that most of the people that are here might have probably voted no for Article 4 on the ballot. So I would think that that's why there's so many people here. Just want to make that clear. Yes, ma'am. Either one.
Go ahead. Over there. I just, Sandra McCarthy, 92 Sportsman's Trail. I feel like you guys have a responsibility for our community to make an informed decision, and the regulations haven't been made yet. If this gentleman gets the approval, he might decide somewhere down the line to change his rules, and then we're stuck with this facility in our town. Medical marijuana was approved back in 2012. The state approved it. We, as a Commonwealth, I voted against it, but we as a Commonwealth passed it in November, and why is he just coming forward now to do a medical facility in our town? If
They
that's
should be
what you
coming
guys-
That's an interesting question. Okay, if in fact, if medical marijuana was voted years ago, why now to it?
Right, well, we were planning on coming to Whitman before the vote, and whether it went either way, it was still a medical project. So we'd come in October to try and discuss it.
I just find the timing of it kind of, if it's just medical, then why wouldn't you have come to Whitman before? There are other medical facilities in this state.
It's just that I was looking around for communities and properties that kind of meshed, and like I said, to feel out the town to see if they're interested or not. I mean, we were looking for medical before the vote, and as far as the...
My opinion is, I think Whitman is what, the 22nd smallest town in Massachusetts? We don't need something like this in our town. Our town is just getting its charm back with, walking through, being able to walk through the center of town and sending our kids in the center of town. We have
for the
a rampant
CMR.
drug problem. Why do we want this element in our town, whether it's a legal business or not? We have a responsibility as a community to our children and to the future of our town.
Okay, that being said, anybody else? I think that young lady to the left. No,
Dan, they should be coming up to the microphone because people that
Yes,
are here.
would you like to come up to the microphone?
No,
Because they,
Oh, of course, now it's
well, apparently they can't hear you.
I will, but I can talk really loud, so I'll come up to
We don't have a walking mic.
Sure.
Hello, I'm Lynn Walton, 271 Sportsman's Trail. I have a few questions. I wanted to ask you if our community has a say in this decision. I asked that because a lot of my fellow residents were unaware of this happening, and I'm sure you referred to the Facebook. I was feverishly on Facebook trying to get as many people as I could. I had a board meeting myself tonight, but I found this to be much more important than going to my mother's club board meeting. However, I had a lot of friends that were working, couldn't get sitters, et cetera, that feel strongly that we understand that you posted here and in the post office. It was in the news yesterday at in the Express. I don't feel that that was enough information given out for us to rally and get people here. This is such a small group, but I guarantee you most people are here for why I'm here, which is, unfortunately, I don't agree with this. So that's my first question. If the residents of Whitman are not interested in having this facility here, what do we need to do? That's going to be my first question to you. What is there that we can do?
This is a licensing issue. The license is issued by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The town of Whitman, through its Board of Selectmen, conducts license hearings. If somebody wants to sell alcohol, if somebody wants to, I'm trying to think of what we regulate, sell food, we have a process whereby we consider the request for a license and we act on it, but that license is also subject to state regulation. We don't hold town meetings for licenses. If we did that, we'd be holding 70 town meetings a year. It just wouldn't work. We can't even get 150 people out to vote a budget sometimes. So having a town meeting to make individual licensing decisions is not only impractical, it's not provided for. What we have to do is we have to hear the request, and then the board has to make a decision as to whether or not it wishes to oppose this license. The opposition of the license doesn't necessarily kill it, as I understand it, but the state is going to look at whether the community has a response to the facility. And I hear what you're saying. I'm not personally enamored with the thought of people roaming around the state smoking marijuana or taking it in any of the other venues it has. That, you know, from a federal standpoint, it's still illegal, it's still an illegal substance.
So what
You can't
what
even-
can we do?
you-
What
The people
can
in
we do here?
Massachusetts have spoken, we can't do anything about
What can
it.
the
It's a legal
residents of
product.
Whitman do if they don't want this in their town?
Is there an appeals process?
That's
for
my
that?
I
question.
do not know. Do you know?
No, the license is issued by the state, not this.
But if you four decided, because there's a lot of people in this room who are not happy with it, are you the end-all, be-all? If the four of you tonight say, hey, this is happening regardless of what the residents want, like what can we do? Because I guarantee you, there's a heck of a lot more people out there.
There
They
are-
just couldn't get here tonight that feel this way.
There are 23 people in this room.
Right,
There are
I counted.
There are 10,000 registered voters in Whitman. I have received feedback from several people, both on Facebook and in direct contact. And it's running very similar to the way the state voted marijuana. It's like maybe 5.5 out of 10 are in favor of the facility, and somewhat less than 5 are opposed, at least from what I've received. And I appreciate that everyone's here, and I appreciate that you all have opinions, and the reason we're holding this meeting is to give people an opportunity to speak. But ultimately, this board is gonna have to make a decision.
And
as
is it based on any kind of feedback that could be given besides what you've done in the last day and a half? Because honestly, I feel that I'm pretty well versed in what happens in the town. I'm definitely in a lot of community activities. I was unaware until I got on Whitman Pride tonight that this was happening, and I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. There are a lot of people that would have liked to have been here and that couldn't. So, again, I will pose that question one more time. What, if anything, is there that we can do as a community to show you that we are not comfortable with this coming into our town? We have how many smoke shops? 3? 3 smoke shops? And now we're gonna have a marijuana facility.
I
When-
want to emphasize,
they're
we
not
are
selling.
not going to have a
Excuse me.
marijuana store. We are going
I
to have.
understand, it's not a, it's not,
I
no,
mean,
but
you're
we're-
comparing
we're-
apples and oranges.
No,
and
I'm
it's-
not.
Sure you are.
Oh, no, I'm not.
What she's saying is what every surrounding community is thinking.
It's not true. Bridgewater's looking at one.
Bridgewater is actually going to propose a
Hold on,
moratorium.
hold on.
Let me just say, Bridgewater actually tomorrow night is going to propose a moratorium of 1.5 years to see what goes on. They're going to propose it. It hasn't been done yet, but I don't see why we couldn't do something similar. Now, I'm getting off my topic because somebody else just threw out Bridgewater, but I don't understand what the hurry is. Again, I don't think that this is a fair representation of our town tonight. I don't, with every fiber of my body, believe that this is the representation. There's 23 people here. There is a heck of a lot more out there. And I feel strongly, I can't say it enough, I feel very, very strongly that this should be tabled and we should come back to it when we have some more information, when we can have a better representation of the residents of Whitman.
What more information would you like? I'm curious because
I would like to know what we need to do to prevent this from happening. That's
So
what I
you're
want
not
to
looking
know.
for more information about the process. You're looking for a way to oppose it.
Well, I've asked one
I just
question.
wanna be clear.
That's my first question.
Okay.
I would like to find an answer to that. Let's start with that. How do we stop this?
It's a fair question.
And I don't have an answer to that. So I can't really move forward with anything else because that's my first question.
Okay, wait a minute, Chief, you want to speak on this?
All right, I'm going to step down because
Okay.
clearly you understand how I feel.
So, just so everybody knows, the first I heard of this was at the first meeting when you were approached. I happened to be watching it on TV, so I saw it. We've had a meeting since 2002, I think it was said, medical marijuana was approved. I think that's when it was. 12, I'm sorry, 12. The state has a habit of putting the cart ahead of the horse. They vote stuff in and then they try to figure it out. It's like, I'll jump off the cliff and I'll see where I want to land on the way down. It doesn't work out so good. So when it comes to retail, and I think that's probably, I wish none of this stuff passed, I'll be honest with you. I think, you know, first it was decriminalized, and even then you had kids would tell you, oh no, it's legal. Well, it wasn't, it was decriminalized. Less than an ounce. An ounce is almost like half a pillowcase. People forget that. I mean, it's a considerable amount. So now you legalize it. I can tell you from Mass Chiefs in the meetings that I've been in, and I will, as this progresses, and nothing retail-wise is going to happen because they're not set up for it. I can tell you that. And then it gets into the OUI, under the influence and all this stuff, and they're trying to catch up with this. But anyway, I can tell you I'll be sitting down with our town administrator, talking to the board, because we as a town can pass a bylaw through a town election restricting retail sale of marijuana in the town. So you will not have places selling marijuana. We can restrict that. Whatever the state does, we can restrict it. That's up to us as a town in a vote. And if that needs to be put together, I will be submitting that myself. As far as a grow goes, it's here in the state. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I don't like. I'm not happy that the state passed it, legalized it. I could go on and on here about the relationship between marijuana to heroin and the opioid epidemic that we have. Okay, I sit on a bunch of committees for it. I can't tell you how unhappy I am, but I also realize I don't have a choice. I have to deal with it. And I'm not saying that you all being here is a great thing. You're speaking your mind. I think that's good. I wish that everybody that was here could have voted 4 or 5 times and we could have defeated it. But that said, we're going to have to find a way to work with it. In looking at it and in the meeting, the preliminary meeting that we had, and this is in the preliminary stages, first of all, I know a place needs land. So when you say, and I'm trying to be objective, when you say like, well, they're coming to Whitman, well, they're looking to buy land. So you have to look around and the facility has to be big enough and it has to be in the right location and things like that. So happens, I guess they've found a place in Whitman that they think they could do this. The facility, in our conversations, and obviously there'll be more, it's going to be like more like a warehouse type building, space building. So it's not like a place that people are going to go to, people can buy marijuana from. It's all the security around it and all that stuff. It's all closed circuit. If it does go through, I can tell you that I'm a taxpayer in town too. I live in town. Am I concerned that we're going to be labeled the, marijuana town or something like that? No, I'm not. This is okay in the sense with me more so than somebody trying to sell it up at the store here or legalizing it and all that stuff. Medical marijuana, listen, the debate can go on and on. People need it. It's been approved. It has to be grown somewhere. I'm not saying that, I'm not the end all be all. I'm not saying I have the right to tell anybody they can do it, but certainly if it's going to come here, I'd rather be on the ground floor working with them than playing catch up on the other end. We have had a conversation. We have sat down. I've expressed some concerns that I have. He's responded to them. So far things have been good. I try to keep an open mind. I'm certainly, as I said, I'm not happy about some things, but I also realize the inevitable is that this was passed by the state as far as medical in 12. This legalization stuff I plan to address. You'll hear things on that because I'm not for just rolling over on that. in the sense that we have to allow ourselves. That would concern me more. If we're selling marijuana in stores in Whitman, yeah, that's a problem for me. That's a big problem for me. You know, and I'll just say this, in all of the groups that I'm in, the opioid coalitions, it runs about 7 out of 10 of those people will tell you that they started with marijuana. 7 out of 10. Now, I can tell you, just because you smoke marijuana doesn't mean you're going to do heroin, but I can tell you nobody started with heroin. So I'm not happy about the legalization of it and looking to sell it as a retail item in this town or any town. But there's a way to address that. That's what I want to let you know. So when you hear that, there is a way for us to address that as a community. We can take action and do that. And the other thing is, I just didn't want to sit there being the police chief while all this was going on and somebody say, geez, you have anything to say? So you can get a hold of me. I'm, you know, if there's something that I can help you with, or you're looking for answers. And I will tell you, in fairness to, you know, Mr. Lynham and the board here, again, this state passes stuff, and then they try to figure it out afterwards. And that's the plain and simple truth. Okay, they don't have the mechanism. This thing is supposed to like go into effect, and they're talking about retail, and now they're realizing, wait a minute, we can't do that. We can't do it right now. So, you know, and if somebody, I'm sure, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure if somebody comes along and says, wait a minute, you're violating my rights. You passed this. You have to, you know, there's all kinds of sides to this thing, but I can tell you that they don't even have any answers. The state doesn't. The state legislature doesn't have the answers that you need or I need right now to some of this stuff. So I don't know where it will shake out, but I can tell you, you can call me, come and see me. I'll give you an honest answer. If I don't have it, I'll find it out. It might take me a little while, but I'll dig for it. And certainly we're a resource. You know, like I said, if I would rather be working with people than trying to figure it out after they've done something that, you know, we could have maybe handled and worked out. So I just wanted to at least get that out there.
Frank, if we do not send a letter of recommendation or acceptance of it, that doesn't stop the process, right?
No, but I think clearly there are a number of people here who are very concerned about the process that we're in right now. And I don't want to summarily dismiss those questions because they've been raised and they're fair questions to answer. I don't have an answer for them. So I think that our best course of action right now is to find out the answers to the questions that were here. And there was a second question I still want to hear because you mentioned you had a second one.
Oh, me. Do I need to go back up? No.
Please. And I think we need to address those questions. So I expect that it would be more appropriate for us
To table it?
to table this to the next meeting so that we can come back with those answers.
Okay.
That's actually what I was going to say.
Because I don't know whether a town meeting can make that. I really don't know. That's a legal question I can't answer. But I'll have an answer for the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, that is what I wanted to know, is there some open forum where you can give the information that you started to give tonight, that
Sure, we can
24
always-
people only got to hear? I think everybody needs that information. That's what I was getting at. And then, is there an opportunity to not only table it, but I understand you want to get on the ground floor, but why can't we put a moratorium on this for a year or a year and a half? They're still working out the kinks. You say that you want to get in now.
Yeah,
Why
that
would we
would-
want to get into the ground floor when things are still trying to be worked out? Why don't we
We're not
let,
looking to get in on the ground floor of anything. We've got someone who's approached
We're
us.
responding to a
Right.
request.
right.
Right.
And I'm saying to you, since you're making the decisions, we don't need to be the first in the area to be doing this. Let's sit back for a little bit. Let's take a breath
We
and see
also
how
don't
it
have the
goes.
ability- This board does not have the ability to put that moratorium into place.
And who
That
would
would be
be?
a town meeting.
That would have
Okay.
to be a vote of town meeting.
Okay.
Now, I have to tell you, I started a comment on this earlier. Years ago, going back maybe 15, 20 years, We used to have 3 or 4 town meetings a year. We had one in May. We had another one in June to see if things were any different. We had another one in September. And then we have one in November or December. And then if we were really lucky, we had another one in February. And it got to the point where we couldn't get people to come to a town meeting. Nobody wanted any part of it. We have open town meeting. We have 9,000 voters. And we waited 20 minutes to get 25 minutes to get 150 voters just to vote on budget items we couldn't vote on because we didn't have enough people.
I was there, I was texting people to come down. I know, we know how it works.
People talk about having a community that they're a part of, but you can't be a part-time resident unless you live in Florida and Whitman. If you're gonna be a part of this community, then be a part of it. Don't just show up when something aggravates you. Participate in the process. I'm not preaching to anyone here. I'm making my general spiel that I make out of frustration because sometimes we can't even govern because we can't get enough people to turn out and vote.
And
that's
I
a
appreciate
frustrating
that
experience.
because there
So it's
are a
great
lot
to
of us
see
that are here tonight
That we have
that
23 people
stretch
here that are
themselves to be
interested
here.
enough to come out on a Tuesday night and talk about something that concerns them. But we need that same interest in everything we do. If we're gonna be a good community, then we have to work together to build that community. We have to build that community through budget process, we have to build it through involvement. We have 7 positions that we're trying to fill for volunteers to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Recreation Commission, the Capital Expenditures Committee, the Conservation Commission.
Board of Appeals.
All of these things are community-run boards. Board of Selectmen, they're elected, they're volunteers, they don't get a cent for being here. And that's true of all the other committees. But the town doesn't work without it, and we all have to work as a community. I'm recognizing that there's a lot of concern here, and I'm going to ask the board not to move forward tonight, but to schedule
Thank you.
another hearing or meeting on January 12th, at which time I will be able to answer the questions you asked,
Okay,
because I'll have
thank
the
you.
opportunity to look at statutory requirements and council.
Yeah, maybe we'll hold it downstairs then.
I
Yeah, I
think,
think
I
we'll
think you
move
might need a bigger room, or a bigger boat, as they would say. Thank
And
you.
the gentleman's been patient. Yes, sir?
Mr. Messer, how are you?
Thank you. Don Visser, 929 Washington Street in Whitman. I do agree with the chief wholeheartedly and other residents here on the problems that marijuana can bring along. I voted dead against it, but I want to add something a little new that has not been brought up tonight.
Good.
If you were to proceed at some point down the road in licensing this company to come in to do medical marijuana, Mr. Leinen has been quoted in the local newspaper saying he wouldn't be surprised if down the road, this company would come back and ask for a recreational license also to add to this medical marijuana facility. And that's where I really draw the line.
No, I wouldn't be, I want to qualify that because a quote taken out of context is not an accurate one. The question asked, which I answered, was, do you think that in the future they might seek permission to grow marijuana for recreational purposes? And I said I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be any different in terms of facility than what we're talking
Well,
now.
that's how you were quoted.
It's the same manufacturing.
You were quoted
process.
just like you said, Mr. Leinen.
You know, the Rust Belt welcomed the auto manufacturers because they gave them jobs and they gave them lots of industry and they gave them lots of money.
You can't compare the auto.
Let me finish my comment. But what they also brought was a tremendous amount of pollution and depression when they pulled out. Everything we do has a plus and a minus to it. Any industry we bring in town can be positive or can be negative, and it can be both, actually.
This is a negative.
So
This
I
is a
just
negative.
want to be clear on that.
Yep. But I'm voicing my opinion here, seeing I
Appreciate
have
it.
the pulpit here at this moment. I'm voicing my objection to this because I think this is a slippery slope. It is going to go from medical marijuana to recreational marijuana. That is something that I'm very much opposed to. I believe the legislature, as the chief pointed out, goes for these things because this is a new source of revenue, and it's this. It's the money. And sure, there's a lot of other people out there that don't fully understand the ramifications of marijuana. Maybe they tried it and they liked it. But having been a school teacher, having seen it in my school when I was teaching, and how it affects kids, particularly as a vocational shop teacher, think about that. People that can be on drugs of any kind at any point in time. But marijuana was in my school from time to time, and it came into my shop and other shops, and the kids are running machinery. I'm going to vote for something or approve of something that could bring that more into my town than it might be already? I don't think so. So I want the board to be fully aware of these kinds of things, and, you know, whatever you guys can do to kind of steer this in a different direction. As this lady back here said, you know, what can we do? We're looking for leadership from you men on this score, okay? Thank you.
Member, do you have a question?
I do, for the,
Clarify some of these points,
I have, I'd like you to come to the podium. I have a few questions for you, and might solve some of those questions you wanted to answer. Do you have other facilities in Massachusetts currently?
you have them in process.
In
So
process,
in
so
Worcester,
none operational at the moment?
no, it's in the
Okay.
state process right now, so it's
Okay.
in the architectural review.
And you have some in other states?
So we advise clients in other states that have them as well, correct?
Okay.
That have already been
They're
labeled
in operation?
in operation.
Okay, and have you had any security issues or issues of employee problems with regard to the product?
Yeah, well, actually, this is my colleague Eric Casey.
Yeah, I'm
Kinda-
Eric Casey from Forefront Advisors. We're the advising firm representing Mission. None of our clients anywhere in any state have any security issues that have required any sort of large response.
Okay.
I do have one other question, Brian.
Yeah.
When did you first submit an application to the state to grow medical marijuana?
So for Mission, Massachusetts was June 29th.
Our
Of this year?
application of intent with the state would be
KOI was June of 2015.
June of 2015, yeah. And to address the point earlier about delays, why are we here 4 years later, it's largely because of the rollout with the state. There's a number of numerous delays in the first application process. They had to go back and review a lot of the licenses. They went back and restructured the entire application process. So we would have liked to be in 2013 or 2014. Unfortunately, the state wasn't ready, so that's why we're here today.
We're clearly not talking about retail sales here at all.
Clearly, no.
Strictly
And
grow.
you have
This is
no,
medical.
you have no intentions
No.
of any retail expansion down the road in this?
Not at this facility, no. In order to register this facility, if we get this letter of support from the town, it will be for a cultivation facility only. If we wanted to convert it to a retail facility, it would have to be approved by the state, and we have to go through this whole process again and then obtain another letter of support from the town.
Okay. And the reason, you know, a lot of people here, I think, from what I've heard was this election vote that happened in November is clearly a vote from the people of the Commonwealth that they want to make this legal. It was in Whitman, 43,
Passed by 53%.
43-39 to 36-34.
It passed
So it
medical
was not
above
an
the state
over-
average, though.
An
In 2012.
overwhelming majority, but it passed. And I, as a selectman here, have to do what's in the best interest of the town. I have to look at all aspects. I can't just look at one specific part. They're all interconnected. This is, in my estimation, because it's only for medical, which passed in 2012, and it's taken 3 or 4 years to really get off the ground. This is just a business. This is no different than what I think would be Peapod coming down there. People don't go in there.
Right.
They don't go in there. It doesn't affect the community one bit.
It does.
It doesn't.
It's my backyard. I live on Pine Haven Drive.
Right, and you had that property when it was Johnny's Food Master or Angelo's
No,
Supermarket.
Pine Haven Drive.
I'm talking about Peapod is what I was talking about. Those, in that instance there, it was built and as a retail outlet, but it is now non-retail. And this is going to be non-retail. This is going to be no different than it was a warehouse for Tractor Supply.
Right.
Okay.
It's not going to matter
Okay.
to the community at large if it was widgets or if it's medical marijuana, which
Dave,
is
security
legal
system
in
will
this
have-
state.
Will be,
All right, excuse me for a minute. It's obvious there's a lot of number of questions here, and what I'm thinking is, there's only 30-something of you here, or 20-something of you here. I'm thinking about having a motion to delay this, to continue this meeting to our next meeting on the 10th. Have it downstairs in the main auditorium where you can get, if you want, the 3,634 no's, and I'll be one of the no's, that voted for it, and come and speak on it. That one issue, what do you think, Frank?
Well, I think clearly,
Because, I mean, we
We're
could be
not-
here all night,
Yeah.
and there are some different questions, but what you're looking is to postpone it so everyone can speak on it, and we could be here till midnight.
There's a lot to be said. There's been statements made tonight that there are many other people who may have had a voice had they been aware earlier that we were having this meeting. There seems to be some pointed questions about what we can and cannot do and what we must do. So I would really like to get the proper answers to those questions before we take any action. And I would suggest that we postpone or continue this meeting to January 10th. We'll hold it in the auditorium. We'll put an ad in the paper announcing
That seem
the
fair
meeting
to
and then-
everybody?
I'll make that motion, I'll make the motion that we actually ask town council to be there also.
And also, I'd like to ask Jeff Deal and maybe Brady to be there too.
Senator Brady.
We can
Senator
ask.
Brady, both.
I
Okay.
will second that motion. I do want to ask you one thing. You have a timeline on this with the state as far as when you have to do X, Y, Z?
yes,
And is this going to impede that process?
slow it down a little bit, we'll still have room.
Because
State.
I just want to make sure that this, by saying it at that particular date, it doesn't mess.
Yeah, I think the only thing we ask for is if we could have specific questions that are outlined so we know what to address, because we want to address people's concerns. You know, I live in Massachusetts. If something was coming into my community, I would want to
Can I ask you, where do you live?
Marlboro.
Marlboro.
Yeah.
So
It's
why
gotta go through the
Whitman?
chair.
Why Whitman? Why not Marlboro?
Oh, I'm not personally running the company. I'm an advisor.
But I'm-
All right.
But if we went to Marlboro,
You represent the company, you're here today.
okay.
Right.
So you're from Marlboro, where do you live?
I like-
Gentlemen,
I
the
mean,
the
doesn't
questions
seem
have to go
productive.
through the chair.
Okay.
We're not gonna get into.
look, we're gonna have a main meeting on the 10th, that way everyone can speak, all right? There's 23 of you here, and a few more walked in. I'd like to see 150, 200 people there at our meeting, right, in the town hall, and we'll just have this on the menu, or on the menu, yeah, on the agenda? And strictly,
We'll see what else has to be
we'll
done.
see what else has to be done. But there's a motion that we table this until our next meeting on the 10th of January, and it'll be held downstairs. It'll be advertised, and you can all speak, and gentlemen, you'll be there, and we'll get our lawyer. We'll be in attendance to answer any legal questions, and I'll see if I can get our state reps in attendance, okay? Yes, ma'am. Anita?
I realize that there's a presentation in November, right? It was done by you?
Correct.
Okay. For those of us who are not able to make that presentation, this meeting that's coming up before the discussion, whether it's going to happen or not, could we have a moment to have them explain a little bit
Yes.
about the
Yes.
process? I am from a scientific family of rocket scientists and physicists and mathematicians, and we look at things like for every action there is a reaction. It is also impossible for any business to be completely perfect all the time.
We can say that.
Okay.
We need to know, what are your plans if there's a leak, a break, or whatever? What is the plan to protect
Okay.
everyone from any skunk smell or anything that would be environmentally hurtful to anyone who lived in the immediate area? And to address if there'll be any kind of financial account. There was a mention of you make payments to that. I don't know if that's in addition to general corporate taxes. But would there be an account or a fund set up by you to help any environmental, or if the town is sued by any taxpayers because they perceive their
Okay.
properties on? Is there any fund that you will be
All right,
preparing?
they will make their presentation as they made it to us, and they'll answer all those
That should
questions.
happen on the.
Okay? Okay. So I have a motion to table this discussion until our next meeting in January 10th, which will be held downstairs.
Yeah, and we can address, we have specific questions that we want to get answered.
Right. And then
And
you
then
are,
the
and you
others.
ask more questions, and we'll see where we're going from there. Okay, it's been voted. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
Aye.
that's what we're gonna be doing. So let everybody know, it'll be notarized in it'll be noted in the paper also that on that meeting downstairs, that way there'll be plenty of room. Okay?
And the air conditioning.
And it'll be air conditioned. Just,
In the middle of January,
Yeah. all right, let's go around the board.
we'll be using it for heat.
Frank, you have anything?
Yes,
And since you're all here, don't leave, because we have something special. Go ahead. Where is it?
Okay, Frank?
Yeah.
last Tuesday, we had a visit from Nita Salt. And at that time, Nita, come on up here.
Come on,
Uh,
come on.
She had told me that she had attended the wine tasting and participated in the auction, and for the second year in a row, I was sick and couldn't make it. But she purchased a painting. And she's decided that and may have decided when she bought it, that she wanted to present this to the town. So I would like to present to the Board of Selectmen from Nita Salt this lovely painting of the town park and express my appreciation for a kind and generous donation. Thank you.
Thank you. I love to embarrass you.
It's not the wine tasting, it was but that was good too.
Oh, you mean I missed another one?
No, this was from this was just in honor also of the Town Cultural Arts Council that we have. They had these wonderful concerts last summer. I don't know if any of you attended them, but they'll have them next summer too. And in order to help fund it, they made a T-shirt to sell. And that photo was on the T-shirt. And on the back of the T-shirt, it had the concert dates as well as the fact that the concert was dedicated to Lenny Baker, our town musician from Shawanoe, in honor of his passing. And so they took a photograph by Kurt McGee that was on Facebook, and Joe Goldsberry took a photo of it and made it into, the council made it into T-shirts. And also, but initially, it was made into this painting. So I did purchase the painting from the original artist, who's Paula Donnelly from PD Hollow Studios, if you need any special Christmas presents for anyone. And so I purchased the painting and then gave it to the town for everyone to enjoy. So, and thank you to the Cultural Arts Council. They do a fantastic job, so
Thank you very much. Not trying to embarrass you. Frank, do you have anything else for the board?
No.
Scott? Nope. Brian? And I do not have anything for the board, but I need to announce that we will be going into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to the collective bargaining or litigation when, if in an open session has a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body and the chair so declares. And 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law. So I need a motion to go in.
So moved.
And we'll be,
Second.
and we'll be coming back into
Yes.
open session to
Yes.
adjourn only.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. We're in executive session. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.